Hi, I'm Stephanie Jaworski of joybaking.com. Today we're going to make Pecan Tassies, and this is what they look like. It starts with a cream cheese pastry, which adds a really nice flavor, and the texture is tender and flaky. And then we're going to fill it with a sweet and gooey filling with lots of crunchy pecans. So we're going to start with our cream cheese pastry. Now, in the description box, there is a link to the written recipe, joybaking.com, and you can also find there a print page. So if you don't want to be writing down what I'm saying, all the ingredients, then you can just go to the website. So to make the pastry, if you have a stand mixer like I have here, use your paddle attachment. You could use a hand mixer, or really you could just a large bowl with a wooden spoon. The first thing that you will need is 1 cup, which is 225 grams of butter. Have your butter at room temperature. I'm using unsalted butter. If you wanted to use salted, you could, and then just leave out the salt that I'm going to add later. Now, my butter, it should be at room temperature. Mine's not quite there. So the trick is, if yours isn't, is I'm just going to beat it on, medium-low speed just for, maybe 30 seconds just to soften it. Okay, now we're ready. Kind of a little trick if you don't take your butter out early enough. And then next, you will, of course, we need cream cheese, 6 ounces, 170 grams of, I'm using the full fat cream cheese, have that at room temperature. And then I'm going to add 2 tablespoons, 25 grams of granulated white sugar. You don't have to add the sugar if you prefer. You can just leave it out, but I like just a little sugar. So now I'm going to beat this on medium speed until everything's mixed together and there's a little bit of air incorporated into the mixture. So a minute or 2. Okay. And next, in a separate bowl, I have 2 cups, which is 260 grams of all-purpose flour, plain flour. To that, I'm just adding 1/4 teaspoon, 1 gram. I'm using a fine kosher salt. You could just use table salt. Like I said, if you used salted butter, then I would just leave that salt out. And I'm just gonna whisk that in, then add that. And I'm just going to beat this, start on slow speed. You don't want it coming up in your face. I'm just going to mix it until it comes together. Okay, we are done. I didn't say, but this recipe will make about 48 of the miniature little Pecan Tassies. So, a little sticky. But it is a dream to roll out. I mean, I find it one of the easiest pastries to roll out. So if you're new to that, this is a great way to start. I'll use my fingers here. So because it makes 48, I'm going to divide this pastry into 4, because we have to chill it. It's a little sticky right now. So what I'm going to do is divide it into 4 portions. If you have one of these scrapers, it's a nice tool to have. Cleans the bowl good. So now I am going to weigh. You want, for, like I said, you could just eyeball it. I mean, it's not that critical. but I'm going to be precise, because each quarter will give us 12 pastries, so 170 grams for each quarter. So what I do is I just take some, each quarter, take some plastic wrap, ball, flatten it into a round, and wrap it up. And we want to chill that until firm. So I'm saying at least an hour. But if you want, you could divide this, over a couple days. Make the pastry one day, just chill it overnight, and then the next day you could roll it out. So that's what I'm going to do. And then when we come back, we will roll out our pastry. So our pastry has been chilled. So now we're ready to roll it out. So first, preheat your oven to 375 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 190 degrees Celsius. And then I'm using a 24 miniature, tart pan, muffin pan, same thing. I think they normally come in 24. I have some older ones that are a 12, but most of them are 24, which is ideal, really. And mine's non-stick. So if you are going out and buying one, buy non-stick. It's so much easier to get them out. If you don't have a non-stick, then you might want to lightly butter or spray the cups with non-stick cooking spray. Now I have done I've done 12, one thing of pastry, just so you don't have to watch me do all of that. I only have one 24 pan, so I'm going to have to do this in stages. If you don't have to go out and buy 2 pans. One, I just bake them off, let it cool, and then start the next one. Kind of a process. So what you want to do, slightly flour in the top. You need a rolling pin. Just lightly flour that. And we are going to roll it out fairly thin, like 1/8 of an inch, because, those are big cups, so we don't want too much pastry. So when you're rolling, keep picking up the pastry and turning it so that if it's sticking, you can just add some, put some more flour down. So you can see it is such a forgiving pastry. So if you are new, like I said before, if you are new to pastry making, this is a great recipe to start with. Okay, that looks good, pretty thin. Just run your hand over the top, and you can tell whether it's the same thickness, because sometimes, especially in the center, it's a little thicker. So just to check that. And then what I like to do before I start cutting those, just lift it up. So I'm going to use a cookie cutter. Actually, if you don't have cookie cutters, a great investment is this little, comes in a little container and has like every size you can want, which is nice. I'll put a link, if you go to the joybaking.com website, the written recipe, I'll put a link there, so if you don't have them and you want them. So what you want to do, you have I don't want to say the exact size, because I have noticed that with the miniature tart pans, they can be a little different shape and width. So what you want to do, whatever it is, just take you want quite a bit, I would say that's at least about an inch past the top here, 2.5 centimeters, because, when it goes down, it needs to be bigger. So just cut it out. Now there's a couple ways. Once you cut it out, you can just put that kind of over the top, and with your fingers, just put it down in like so, And you can, I've got the plain, I got the plain cutters. There's actually ones like this that are fluted. So if you want a little fancy. And the other way is put it in the center. And then if you have one of these pastry tampers, I think they're called, and just put a little flour. And then you just kind of put it over the top and it does it for you. What a tool. Have fun with that. So if you are a gadget person, which I am, you can buy one of these. So just put as many, you will get 12 out of, like we said, out of each one of these. So if you have scraps, re-roll and then cut out more until you have the 12. Hey, the last one. So now I'm just going to put my the whole pan into the refrigerator to chill, while then when we come back we will make the filling. So now for our filling. I'm just going to make it by hand in a bowl. First thing you will need is 3 large eggs. That's 150 grams out of the shell. Have your eggs at room temperature, and I'm just going to whisk them. I mean, if you wanted to use a hand mixer, you could, but it's really easy to make. Now, Pecan Tassies, pecan pie, it's sweet. I mean, it just is. So you will need 1.5 cups, which is 300 grams of light brown sugar. Now, some people will say that's just way too much for me. Other people say, no, it's perfect. So if you think that's too much and you don't want them really sweet, you could cut that back to about a cup, 200 grams of light brown sugar, or anywhere between 200 and 300 grams. Like, I will leave that up to you how sweet you want them. And just whisk that in, along with 1.5 teaspoons, 6 grams of pure vanilla extract. That's for flavoring. And I'm just gonna get rid of all those lumps, if there's any, in the brown sugar. And then you will need 4 tablespoons, which is 55 grams of melted butter. Now I'm using unsalted here. You could use salted as well, because I'm going to put the right in there. I'm going to add 1/4 teaspoon, 1 gram of, fine kosher salt, table salt. So if you wanted to use salted butter, just leave out that salt. And that's the filling. And of course we need some pecans. So you're going to need about 1.5 cups, 150 grams of chopped pecans, like that. Now, if you're Canadian, you will recognize this is kind of similar to the butter tart, but typically Canadians use, if they're going to put, for a butter tart, you either put raisins or walnuts. I'm not even going to get into that discussion on which ones you're supposed to put in. But you could, the reason I'm saying this is if you don't want to use pecans, you could use chopped walnuts. And if you kind of go, what are butter tarts? You can go either to our joybaking.com YouTube channel or our website and find butter tarts. Since I'm Canadian, I like butter tarts. So now, that's done. I'm just going to go get my pan from the refrigerator. I'm going to fill them and bake them off. So now we are ready to fill our shells. Now, there's different ways to do this. I kind of do it, I don't know, maybe it's the hard way. I just take a little measuring spoon and I put a little in, about 2/3 of the way up, 3/4. So that's maybe a tablespoon. That's how I do it. people are comments. So there is other ways to do it. You could use one of these like flexi, put it in there and then just pour. Or some people have said to me, a squirt bottle, and then you just squirt it. But I don't know. I don't mind it taking a little time. I find it kind of therapeutic. Slow down. And so you fill it about 2/3, 3/4 full, and then just take a bunch of pecans. I like lots, and put it on top. That's what you do. So however you want to fill them, I'm not going to judge. Okay, the last one. Hey, I love pecans. So does Carrie. So now to bake. I'm going to say between 17 and 20 minutes. Bit of a range because everybody's oven is a little different. Really, you don't want to overbake these. So I would check them maybe at 15 minutes, see how they're doing. And then you can always do them a couple more minutes. So the pastry will start to brown around the edges and be set. And the filling will be set, but still like a little soft. So mainly you can go by the pastry when it starts to lightly brown around the edges. So 17 to 20 minutes. I do rotate my pan front to back about halfway through. So our pecan tassies are done. So put your pan on a wire rack. So you can see they're browning around the edges and the filling is set, but still a little soft when I press it. So what we're going to do is just let them cool in the pan, and then I'll just use my little offset spatula to take them out. And when we come back, we will try one. So now let's try one. They're just so cute. That pastry. If you've never had a cream cheese pastry, you've got to try it. This is lots of butter. So they're buttery. And then it's so tender and flaky. It just kind of melts in your mouth. And then that sweet and gooey filling. I did cut back the sugar. I think I just over a cup. I think it was like maybe 1 1/4, around 250 grams of light brown sugar. Just cut back a little on that sweetness, but still sweet. And then you have the crunch of those pecans, because the filling's almost like caramel. And then that complements the crunch and the taste of pecans so well. They're just so good. You must try these. I mean, it's kind of like if you were, say, Thanksgiving, and you usually make a pecan pie, but you're kind of, well, I prefer if you're having a buffet, lots of guests, and you don't want to be, fussing with slicing the pie. This is a really great alternative because you can just kind of lay out and people can take one, probably more than one. That's what I like about making something like this. And they freeze really well, so you can make them ahead of time. And if you want to make, like I said, I've got 24 here. It makes 48, so that's a lot. You could double that and make lots and lots. So you must try this. And also, if you're a subscriber but you find that you're not getting notified, we typically put out a video almost every Thursday. If you are not getting notified, then right beside the subscribe button is a little bell. Just press that, and that way YouTube will make sure that you get notified every time we release a video. So try these, and until next time, I'm Stephanie Jaworski of joybaking.com.